Now, the original borrowing itself had a provision that once the project was complete, the state would step in with a pledge to make any appropriation for a shortfall. What that means in short is that if for whatever reason, the dedicated revenues from that special district weren't enough to repay the bonds, the state would step in and close the gap on that payment.
The Finance Committee returns the following resolution. Resolution authorizing the city actions and financing documents in the connection with refunding of Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency revenue bonds issued to finance a portion of Phase 1A of the Tidewater Landing Project. I call for approval. I roll call vote.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Wilden, second by both Councilor Rubio and Councilor Moran, that the Finance Committee returns the following resolution with a recommendation for approval. A resolution authorizing city actions and financing documents in connection with the refunding of Pawtucket Redevelopment Agency revenue bonds issued to finance a portion of Phase 1A of the Tidewater Landing Project. We'll take this matter up before a vote. Who's kind of quarterbacking this from the administration? Is Zai or Mark?
Zai will speak to it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Zai, you can just introduce yourself to the rest of the committee, if you would, please.
Certainly. My name is Zai Kamsi-Warahong. I work for PFN Financial Advisors. We are the municipal advisors to both the city and the Pawtucket Redevelopment Authority on any matters regarding bonding that happens with the city or the Redevelopment Authority.
Gotcha. I know you just went through this with the Finance Committee a few minutes ago, but can you just give the rest of the body an overview of what we're doing here, what we're authorizing with this resolution?
In the most basic terms, what you're looking at is a refinancing of the debt related to the construction of the Tidewater Stadium. The debt itself originally was issued at an interest rate of 7.5%. That is comparatively high as opposed to what you normally see for a governing body when they issue debt, because that debt was for a very specific project, backed by very specific revenues tied to that project. Now, the original borrowing itself had a provision that once the project was complete, the state would step in with a pledge to make any appropriation for a shortfall. What that means in short is that if for whatever reason, the dedicated revenues from that special district weren't enough to repay the bonds, the state would step in and close the gap on that payment. What that means is that these bonds now have an investment grade rating, which lowers the potential interest rate on those bonds. So what we're looking at doing is refinancing the debt at a rate of currently 7.5% to a rate of less than 5%, taking advantage of that investment grade rating and helping to deliver back to taxpayers of the state roughly $3.5 million in total.
And that was because they were riskier bonds at the outset, whether the project would be completed or not.
And now the state, as the parent entity, now that the city has done its part, working with the Redevelopment Authority to finish that project, is going to step in and back up those bonds, which obviously makes them investment grade.
And these are not general obligation bonds of the city taxpayers. These are PRA bonds that are backed by the state, correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions? Councilor Gregor?
So I'm just trying to get clear on it. So essentially, I was just curious, so the PRA is a separate entity, correct? So whatever total bonding capacity that they have or standing, it's not tacked into the cities, right? So when you look at the city's bonding, you don't add in the PRA's bonding obligation.
On this specific obligation, that is correct. This obligation is solely backed by state revenues collected within the district itself.
Okay, but as a general principle, it would be if it wasn't.
As a general principle, any of the special district bonds that are issued by the PRA are not backed by general obligation bonds of the city itself. You are correct in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we made sure that when we passed other resolutions allowing for the PRA to be the vehicle or the mechanism for this process. I think what we're being asked tonight is to pass a resolution that does the same thing for the refinancing. correct?
Exactly. The transaction is now much simpler. It solely relies on both state revenues that are generated in Pawtucket as well as the guarantee of the state to step in and support these if there's ever a shortfall.
And the savings is basically for the state. The city is kind of out of the picture relative to the gain.
That's correct. This obviously is a project that reflects a great deal of coordination and cooperation between the city, the Pawtucket Development Authority, and the state. Being a good fiscal steward to the outstanding debt by doing things like taking advantage of opportunities to save the taxpayers money is a good reflection of fiscal stewardship on behalf of both the city and the PRA.
I was gonna say, the other thing that came up in the meeting too was that these could be called up again to be refinanced. You said anywhere from 8 to 10 years from now, depending, I guess, right?
Council, that's a great note for me to also step in with additional detail. The debt is not being extended beyond the original amortization, the number of years that it's to be paid out. In addition to that, the city still reserves the right of the redevelopment authority to refinance this debt in the standard 10-year horizon, should that be advantageous. We're now a couple years into that debt, so in about 8 years, the city will be able to take a second look at this, and if rates are lower, refinance the bonds again.
Councilor Levine.
Yes, Council President, thank you. And as Chairman of Finance, on behalf of my committee, some of them have already pointed it out too, we really do appreciate Cy for dumbing it down for us and explaining it in layman's term, as well as Mark Haywood, turn around and get this communicated to us so that we can turn around and understand it and move forward as quickly as possible, because there are things tied to this that we just wanted to see move along. The faster it moves along, the more we reap the benefit of it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you, Cy. We already have a motion and seconded by both Councilor Moran and Councilor Rubio. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Again, the recommendation from the Finance Committee is for approval. In that case, clerk will call the roll.
President Mercer,
Yes.
Council Rujo,
Yes.
Council Gregor,
Yes.
Council Moran,
Yes.
Council Moreno,
Yes.
Council Rubio,
Yes.
Council Sokoviak,
Yes.
Council Wildering,
Yes.
8-0.